Config so far. My name is Elin, and like the slide says, I'm a product manager here at Figma. When I'm not emoji reacting to people's posts on Slack, I work with the activation team and the growth platform team on everything from teaching new users how to create and collaborate in Figma to platforms like localization and personalization that enable teams across the company to drive growth at scale. I'm so excited to be your host for the rest of this beautiful Wednesday afternoon at Config. Raise your hand if this is the first time you've ever been to a config. In person, wow, oh my God, give it up for y'all, that's great. Config has always had a special place in my heart because Config 2022 was actually my very first week at Figma. It was kind of a crazy time to start because I didn't really know anything, I have no idea what was going on, but you know what was the best part? Everyone was wearing name tags, so it was really easy to get to know everyone. Thank you. That was great. That was supposed to be a joke. All right, all jokes aside, I remember being super blown away by not only the cool features that launched, but also the incredible energy from all of our speakers and attendees. What a magical way to start out at Figma, and I'm so excited to continue that magic with y'all today here. But enough about me. Who's ready to hear some awesome talks? I don't know. Are y'all really ready? Let's hear it. Woo! All right, I think we can get started. To kick off this double feature, we'll be hearing from some incredible speakers from Twitch and Stripe on how they push design forward through speculative design frameworks and crafting delight. First up, our friends from Twitch. Kalyani T and Shihan Zhang will be walking us through the frameworks they use to enable their teams to think beyond the next MVP. They'll dive into how speculative design frameworks can enable teams to explore the future and the tools they use to guide their teams and unlock new ways of thinking. Please welcome Kalyani and Shihan to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Shihan. I am a lead product designer at Twitch, and also a design futurist at alterR.studio, where I use artifacts and stories to speculate and prototype our sustainable long-term futures.
Hello, I'm Kalyani. I'm also a lead product designer with Shihan at Twitch. And these days, my work is a lot more focused on digital products and experiences, but my interest in speculative design, foresight, and futures just always manages to sneak in. Both Shihan and I like to design objects, interfaces, experiences. Sometimes they're real.
Sometimes fictional. As product designers, we must be familiar with roadmap planning. I'd like to start our talk today by asking you, what's your roadmap planning look like?
For us, it looks a lot like this. It's a bunch of us, including our cross-functional friends from data, design, engineering, research, product, everybody huddled together in a document. After many documents and many more meetings, we define the space we want to work within. And then our product partners generate a list of requirements or user stories for design to start thinking about. But the format itself has limitations. Once our design leader asked us this question, what do you all see as blockers to exploring things more widely? And we realized it was this kind of planning because it tended to focus on outlining predefined solutions. So it left little or no room for imagining possibilities. And it resulted in design being constrained by organizational structures or the current technology. And more frequently than not, design remained confined to short-term quarterly planning with this constant pressure to design for the next release.
But what if we can expand our thinking beyond the present and venture into the near or even distant futures? because the insights from the future can empower us to make informative decisions today so that we're able to achieve long-term goals sustainably. In 2022, we got a chance to experiment with this new ways of roadmap planning. Twitch Zhang team initiated Design-led Quarter, where every designers are encouraged to imagine what Twitch might look like in the future. The insights from the design initiative got woven into the roadmap and helped inform this letter our Chief Product Officer and Chief Monetization Officer wrote to our community. In this talk, we'd like to share our process of how we blended speculative design with product design to envision possibilities beyond known boundaries.
So, what is speculative design? Definitions are always hard. So instead, we have this unresolved map of speculative design from Elliot Montgomery. And we really like this map because it captures the ambiguous nature of this discipline. And you can see that speculative design inhabits the fuzzier overlap between art, design, strategy, and futures. In their Speculative Everything book, Dunn and Raby talk about how design can be means of speculating how things could be, to imagine possible futures, and then to use them as tools to understand the present, to pose what-if questions that can open up debate and discussion about the kind of future we want, and just as importantly, the kind we don't want.
So now let's look at it in the context of product design. We're able to use design to imagine and simulate broader possible futures. So in our use case, various UX visions and concepts, so that we're able to promote those preferred ones through storytelling. It allows us to influence those long-term goals in a meaningful way by bringing more options to the roadmap planning table. It empowers a team to think about the future we want, and more importantly, creates a sense of agency, reminding us that the future is something we can actively create and build, not predetermined.
There are a myriad of speculative design tools or foresight frameworks out there in the field, and each one comes with its own unique purpose. But we've curated a set that can be easily applied to product development process, and we hope these unlock new ways of thinking and diverse pathways forward for your teams just the way they did for us.
First of all, plan your journey. While designing futures, we might not know the exact destination, but we can still plan the direction. We aligned our timeline with design process, considering sprints and holidays, so that we're able to effectively manage our workloads and commitments. More importantly, we also determined those specific artifacts we want to generate at each stage. By setting small yet clear goals, we were able to make steady progress without getting overwhelmed by those unknown final outcomes.
But don't let these need boxes fool you. In its true form, design process can hardly be codified into a step-by-step prescriptive process. It exists in a wonderfully messy realm, is non-linear, and cannot be conformed to a streamlined, easily reproducible process. But it's a useful tool, and for us, it provided structure and helped us communicate where we were to our non-designer partners.
Second tool, Signal Map. Delve deep, but stay organized. We started with a short brief for each topic area. Then we expanded by asking a lot of questions and discussing with our leadership and stakeholders, as well as doing internal and external research. We fell down so many rabbit holes, but also came back up with lots of food for thoughts. Then we organized all those informations into signal maps. Signal map is a visual tool to track emerging signals or change that's related to the topic area. The important thing to note here is that we're not just collecting, but also reflecting and noting down your thoughts along the process. We organized our findings into meaningful things so that we were able to gradually immerse ourselves in the essence of the topic. Signal maps work as information map. They informed our design decisions, and to be honest, we still refer back to them today.
After being immersed in the topic or in our research for a while, we needed to stretch our mind and flex our imagination muscle. Metaphors, the first tool in this kit, nudged us to play with words, loosen up, and embrace a little bit of silliness. Metaphors are mighty. They have a way of holding the most truth in the least amount of space. Metaphors have a unique way of communicating because they offer a visual or an experiential reference point to complicated things. And so that allows for a deeper understanding of or communication of an idea or a concept. Let's take the example of a cloud. The word evokes something dreamy, ethereal, almost otherworldly imagery. When I say cloud in this context, you know I'm not talking about something sublime with mist-like data hanging out in the ether, but massive computer servers that are powered by generators, cooled by air conditioners, and stored in warehouses. So metaphors can transform something very complex to something a lot more approachable.
Metaphors allow us to make complex ideas relatable. It is a simple yet powerful activity. We started by inserting different metaphors in this prompt. Rather than thinking about Twitch in technical terms, we used metaphors like a city, community garden, or even giant cozy couch, since we wanted our digital products to evoke real-life experiences. Then we asked, how might we questions based on the metaphor? By cross-comparing those familiar and unexpected experiences, inspired us to imagine those new opportunities and features that we never considered before. It was a playful tool that challenged our conventional ways of thinking.
Then it was time for us to extend our thinking beyond the present. Using Future's wheel, we delved into different potential future outcome or scenarios for our product. We started by placing the trend or the event that we were interested in exploring at the center of the wheel, and then we imagined both positive and negative outcomes it could trigger. First, we mapped the direct consequences in the inner ring, and then we branched out and mapped the indirect consequences in the outer ring.
For example, we were curious about the future scenario where spatial interfaces will become a commonplace in live streams. With that scenario placed in the center, one direct consequence is that the spontaneous physical interactions in live stream become possible. Continued expanding that idea, the indirect consequence is that you won't be able to make new friends who's standing or sitting next to you digitally in a live stream. This line of scenario mapping lead us to the concept of nonlinear and cluster conversations among our viewers. The future wheel helped us to gain a comprehensive understanding and the broader implications of potential future scenarios, and also helped us to generate more diverse concepts.
With so many diverse ideas, we needed a sense-making tool that can help us evaluate all of our concepts. Using a polarity map with two opposing values, we identified the themes, tensions, and relationships associated with all of our concepts, and then grouped them together into a few clusters.
And then from those priority map, we're able to pick 5 things that excite us most and then craft those fictional tweets from the future as a fast prototype tool. Twitch often share those features announcements to our user through Twitter. So we borrowed the similar format and created those fictional tweets. By thinking through our concepts in the frame of a tweet, we're able to take fuzzy and complex ideas and express them in concise and engaging way through short sentences and one single visual markup.
But the real fun began when we shared this with everybody. So we sent out these fictional tweets in our UX design Slack channel in this fun make-believe scenario where Karina, our then director, got transported to the future and received glimpses of these features from the future support team. And yes, we changed our Slack handles to Twitch from the near future, much to everybody's confusion. This was a useful tool to situate our audience in the future scenario and just to get everybody excited about the things that we were excited about. The Slack reactions sparked more conversations, and then that helped us converge onto 3 specific ideas. From here on, we followed the usual design process with its iterative steps, progressing from low-fidelity wireframes to mid-fidelity to finally high-fidelity designs. Though these were speculative design concepts, we still flushed out all the details, including the user journeys and user flows, because those details are what made the concept more believable and concrete.
The tweets from the future was a powerful future simulation tool. It cracked the wall ever so slightly, so our audiences were able to peek at what's possible. Towards the end of our design initiative, we actually pushed the future simulation into a next level. By bringing speculative future concepts into the real world, we built a pop-up interactive exhibition at the on-site week. Located in the bustling kitchen area, the exhibition served as a platform to showcase our ideas to our cross-functional members. It was actually a strategic choice. By placing it in a place where people naturally gather, our audiences are able to encounter those concepts serendipitously. And we didn't announce that this is fictional, but let the realization dawn upon them. Unlike traditional presentations, the exhibition let people approach those new ideas on their own terms. Imagine that you're waiting in line or enjoying your food. You're able to interact with those prototypes, reflect on the possibilities, discuss and debate with your peers if that's a future you want at Twitch.
Our goal was to move from something abstract so that we're able to offer concrete experiences, because that's what provokes reflection or discussion. So to do that, we adopted the format of Twitch's Patch Notes. So Patch Notes is a monthly product-focused live show that airs on Twitch's official channel on Twitch. So product managers and other relevant folks are often invited to this to talk about any of the new product launches or updates to our features and tools, or any of the experiments that we are working on. So it's one of the interfaces between Twitch and the community. Unlike the public-facing format, we shared this one only internally, but we use this format because it's offered a compelling archetype that Twitch employees were already familiar with. We recontextualized this format and created Patch Notes from the future, where designers appear to introduce new product features and releases to the community. We have a little snippet for you all.
What's going on, everybody? How are you doing out there, Twitch? Welcome to Patch Notes from the future. We are so glad you're here with us for this special episode X. I am your host, Kevin, here to bring you the latest and greatest updates straight from Twitch. Thanks for coming on, Jason. Why don't we kick things off with telling us a little bit about what you've been working on?
Let's welcome our product designer from the near future, Amanda. How was the traffic from the future?
Oh my God, honestly, it's gotten so bizarre since your time, but you'll manage, I promise.
I know that you have to catch your train back to the future, so bye for now and hope to see you all soon.
In speculative design work, it's important to create the speculative artifact, but it's just as important to create the world around that artifact. With Patch Notes, we took something familiar, but mixed it with an unfamiliar context and managed to create a little bit of the world around that. We also crafted a specific visual language. So this cohesive visual framework helped us establish an identity for our work.
We also created a story package for each concept. That's including a printed label, introducing its concept and value propositions, and also supplemented with patch notes video that we just shared. In addition to Figma prototype, we also collaborated with our engineer team on the working prototypes. Big shout out to Brian and Anna for being amazing partners. By building those hypothetical but working prototypes, not only allowed us to materialize our concepts from the future, but also provided an opportunity to validate the technical feasibilities at much early conception stage. This whole setup grounded our concepts with enough concrete details so that audiences are easily imagine the future that we proposed, and also making the buying process a lot simpler. The important thing to note here is that we only focused on those key moments and emotions in the prototypes, because by doing that, we left enough room for imagination for our audiences. And of course, we provided multiple ways to allow them to send feedback to us.
Okay, now you've done all of this vision work, but how do you actually connect the present to that preferred future? We use the backcasting framework to identify what we can do today to make that future more likely. We started with our desired future vision and traced our steps back to the present, identifying all the necessary actions and milestones along the way. These might look like small UXR studies or any incremental feature releases or experiments that your team might want to do. And we shared these maps with our stakeholders and realized that these small yet clear steps or milestones made the concept feel a lot more within our reach.
So, here is a summary of all the speculative design framework that I shared today. They inspired us to make informative decisions about which future routes we want to pursue. In quiet yet powerful way, speculation could leak into reality and impact the real-life product development process.
A whole lot of people were involved in this work. We can't help but give a massive shout out to the entire design team at Twitch, especially Megan, Jacob, and Karina, are incredible leaders for creating a space that is conducive to experiments. And so many thanks to our teammates for playing along. We did a lot of fun new things that quarter. We were all used to designing within our tiny screens, but we got to step outside and truly experiment with both digital and physical experiences. We got our hands dirty making things and building this exhibition. The entire experience was incredibly refreshing and brought a sense of joy, adventure, and fun to our work. One of our favorite routines was this weekly open check-in that happened every Friday, where designers and other cross-functional stakeholders were invited to come to a safe space to share ideas and insights as we worked through our concepts. It was like being back in a design school.
And let's not forget our friends at Figma. They rolled out video embeds and cursor chat last year, made our communication way more efficient. Talk about perfect timing. Here's to our friends at Twitch and Figma. You made our life easier, communication smoother, and the creative journey even more exciting. And if there's only one thing you want to take away from this talk, here it is. We publish our presentation and those templates of speculative and frameworks as a Figma community file. Feel free to dive in, experiment, bend those tools for your own roadmap planning, or even other unique purposes for yourself or your organization.
And hey, if you have any feedback or suggestions, we're all ears. Send them our way so we can keep building this work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much to Kalyani and Shihan for their amazing talk. I can't wait to try out these tools and frameworks with my team. Personally, I really loved the metaphor one and tweets from the future, although I hope the traffic really does get better coming back from the future. Thanks again. Up next, we have 3 phenomenal folks from the Stripe team who are going to share some really cool stuff. Richard Ekonye, Kim Bachet, and Nick Jones will be walking us through building the Stripe Sessions page on a really tight timeline. This small but mighty team of a designer, front-end developer, and WebGL artist will take us behind the scenes and walk us through how they combined cross-functional partnership and an eye for detail to deliver an experience that not only delighted users, but also surpassed their own expectations. Please welcome to the stage Richard, Kim, and Nick.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim, and thank you, Figma, for giving us the opportunity to be here today to share our work. It's an honor to be here, and as a Figma legacy user, it feels like a surreal pinch me moment. Today, we'll be sharing the process of building the Stripe Session website, a challenging project that unleashed the team's creative potential and inspired us. A lot of brilliant minds have contributed to this project, and as the main designer behind the website, I'm very grateful to represent them today, alongside Richard and Nick, a brilliant design engineer. It's worth mentioning that we're all remote, collaborating smoothly, even if in different time zones, and that didn't stop us from dedicating ourselves to the craft. Now, let's dive in and explore the journey from design to delight, the making of the Stripe Session website. When I moved to California, I started to learn surfing. And most of the time, surfing reminded me of the design process. It all starts by identifying the right wave that comes to you, knowing when to jump on, and then finding your balance between the age of chaos and order. And as you may know, some briefs are not inspiring. So let me take you back from the beginning. We needed to make an online form for the annual registration event. We could have just stopped there, prefab form, customize the header and the footer image, call it a day. And Figma wouldn't have invited us to show you this today. I'm showing it to you now. And get our user excited for the event, the first in-person in a series by its investment and support in creativity. So once we raise the expectation, we iterate quickly to help define the project. I designed this concept in 2 days, and even if some interaction didn't make it through, they still nourish the overall project, or maybe they will nourish the next one. We chose this backup solution ready, even if that means exporting hundreds of textures for 3D. And then we could all dream of things we never done in design and dev. And at the end, we actually produced 90% of the interaction we planned to do. And to steer us in the right direction during this project, we made some design and interaction principles. Organic field, balancing the digital field, grain and texture, lines, gradients, black and white, and masking effects. All of this to emphasize the in-person aspect and also create a teasing effect for the event. So finally, we didn't wait for the ideal brief to embark on a project that holds potential. Drop by drop, we form a cohesive wave. And we did our best to generate our user excitement. But what motivates me to write this wave or any other project? I should probably say it's because I'm dedicated to the company. But the reality is, it's a desire to go beyond what I'm being told to do. It's deliver work that brings joy to our user and empowers our engineers. It's about building a portfolio I can stand behind and have the investment in my own growth and ensuring the validation of my work, both by myself and others. Like surfing, it takes some falling and failing, but you learn to recognize the wave that horses your energy and your creativity. And in the best environment, your teammate will pick up on it, and together you will elevate the project.
Thanks, Kim. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here. So design engineers on Stripe Web Presence team work closely with designers and platform engineers to build experiences on stripe.com. I was one of the design engineers on the Stripe Sessions website, and I'm here to talk to you about making waves in a project like this. Let's start with the small swells that echo an impactful wave. The Sessions website has tiny interactions and animations that complement each other to drive a cohesive and elegant experience. Components were crafted with elements of surprise, such as how colors cycle through the brand palette and some scroll-based interactions. If you are curious enough, you could figure out more surprises by inspecting the page. I've personally been in this category for a while now, and my interest in Stripe originated from inspecting stripe.com years ago. For me, it was seeing that product graphics that would typically be images were rendered in HTML, and at that point, I really wanted to be part of such team. And here I am today. So one of Stripe's operating principles is be meticulous in your craft. Like in every other project, we work on the tiny details and put a lot of care in not only the hero moments, but in smaller components on the web page. Like this tiny ticket barcode has a wave animation, and the countdown marks kept progressing in real time on the page. As Kim said, this project started with a pretty basic brief. We didn't have full clarity of the total number of speakers or sponsors, but we started out by building modules in a scalable way. The speaker section was initially designed and prototyped with 5 speakers. We all liked layout and interactions, but eventually we had an unexpected level of interest from great people that were eager to speak at our event. At this point, the module needed to scale to represent everyone. We paired and brainstormed on a way to accommodate more speakers without depreciating this experience that we already loved. We wanted to represent all speakers in the same way, visually in terms of titles and image size. We were able to elevate the section to a carousel and also improve the experience and interactions. I believe animation prototyping is a powerful tool to bring ideas buried in our creative consciousness to life. And to me, the most exciting part is discovering more amazing possibilities when we try to build what we have in mind. In the web presence team at Stripe, anyone can prototype with whatever medium they find convenient. And this isn't just a responsibility for engineers or for designers. We all have the creative freedom. My personal favorite medium is in code. For instance, I prototyped this 3D carousel with CSS during an early ideation in a personal project. On the Sessions website, some sections were prototyped by Kim, and some others were prototyped by the engineers. The process typically involves jam sessions and async feedback. The falling cards, the countdown, the tickets, they were all designed in Figma, and we, the engineers, prototyped, we iterated, and added polish along the line. And Kim prototyped the speaker's carousel, but some final details were also added in code. Let me branch out for a bit. So I love reading code behind pleasing animations and interactions. I see it like going through the mind of the person who built this interesting piece. I enjoy seeing how they come up with this logic where tiny moving pieces generate exciting motions and interaction, and there's always an opportunity for me to learn something new. So for the speaker's carousel, the Figma prototype gave me this experience. Seeing how a change in width on one card generates this cutscene reveal effect when combined with other moving pieces. As an engineer building this for the web, I need to consider the technicalities of dynamic content, performance, and cycling cards infinitely through the DOM. At the core, it's about porting that Figma prototype to code in a way that is logically and performantly possible. Let's get into some details of how we can build this carousel. For instance, we could identify some unique properties on the first and the 8th items. They are both tiny, they aren't interactive, and they do not expand. So to implement this, I can style the cards in these positions uniquely. I'll apply transitions from the Figma prototype, and just to ensure that cards coming to that position will ease in. I can achieve this by targeting the end child with CSS, but there are several ways to select or target these elements. So that's kind of out of the way, but realize that the cards actually animate out of view, so they technically aren't the first and the eighth card. And since I'm using CSS end child to target the elements, I need to consider elements at the other ends of the carousel. So they technically are the second and the ninth, and the cards, the items animating out are now the first and the 10th. So what can I do? From that point, I started handling the bigger cards, like their hover interactions, the text within the cards, and the noise on the images. Then focused on more technical aspects, like persisting the active position when you progress in the carousel, or cycling through cards in the DOM infinitely. I won't be covering those in this talk, but they were all driven by JavaScript. It was really interesting to see people recreating this carousel on the internet with different tools of their choice. With all the fun and interactive pieces in place, it was important to have a functional registration flow and informational event content. We spent time making performance optimizations. We ensured that Ben and Nick's daughters were able to register on their laptops. We also ensured that Kim was able to register on a dusty iPad. And most excitingly, we built a wave.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Jones, and since 2017, I've been a design engineer at Stripe. And every day I'm inspired by the people who surround me, and that's true today, of course, but I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the designers at Stripe specifically, and the design engineers at Stripe that I work with. And they inspire me in an exchange. I want to make them feel like this guy.
I thought you could do anything with a camera that the eye could do, or the imagination could do. And if you come up from the bottom in the film business, you're taught all the things that the cameraman doesn't want to attempt for fear he will be criticized for having failed. Yes. And in this case, I had a cameraman who didn't care if he was criticized if he failed, and I didn't know that there were things you couldn't do. So anything I could think up in my dreams, I attempted to photograph.
So I want the designers I work with to feel like Orson Welles' cameraman made him feel, which is that whatever they can imagine, we can bring to life on the screen. And most of the time, we don't feel that way, but sometimes we get close. And this wave felt close. So waves are a disturbance in the force. And if you're thinking, OK, Obi-Wan, it's fair. But we're disturbances in the force. Everybody in this room, right? You're paid to be creative, which means that you spend time trying to uncomfortably balance between getting as weird as you can and getting a paycheck. So I make spinning things for the web. And it's a little strange that Stripe hired me in 2017 because this is my portfolio at the time. And Stripe didn't make spinning things, right? So I've dedicated the last 6 years of my life to changing that. Spinning globes, spinning icons, spinning books. And recently I branched out a bit and we made an exploding book. So this is some of the work that I'm most proud of and had the most fun doing, but nobody got rich and famous from these animations, right? I didn't touch the product. But there is one animation that for ages it's been making people very rich. But it's really hard. It's really complicated to accomplish. It can take months, years, even lifetimes. And it's this. Right, it's really hard. You know, on the y-axis you have money. And on the x-axis, I don't know. If you know, please tell me. And you know, spinning things and exploding things, they don't move this. but they do stir up forces. So by the time the chart actually moves, the creative act is rarely credited as the driving force. But this chart gives me hope because when we started the sessions campaign, we started emailing people back here to sign up. And right here is y'all. Like, this is design Twitter, right? This is when we told people about the website. And so sign-ups spiked, and it gives me hope because, you know, we put a lot of creative energy into this, and Stripe invested in it, and it worked. All right, so now that I've convinced you all of novelty and doing unnecessary things, power to make you rich and famous, I want to talk about this chart, which is, you know, we talked about sign-ups, so now we're going to talk about sign-downs. Math joke? No? No? So the sessions wave is basically made of a bunch of these sine waves, and they're layered and offset, you know, very slightly. And I can show you here. You see all this sin? It's spelled sin in code, but it's all over the place. And really, that's what this wave is made of, is a bunch of those little sine waves. So with the help of everybody's favorite shader guru, Patricio Gonzalez Vivo, we combined a bunch of those sine waves with a noise field, and we created this sessions wave. So every little sine wave comes into existence and then disappears. Right? We bring things into existence on the screen, and we move them out of existence off screen. Now, if we're feeling lazy, scrolling does it for us. Right? Something scrolls into the screen from the bottom and goes out of existence at the top. Not much of a life, so we animate them. Right? We bring them to life in ways that feel magic. And for better or worse, my special ability is novelty making. We are very valuable. And right now, I really wish it was conference speaking. But what I offer is work that's not predictable. Once there are instructions or a system, something that makes it easy, I get bored. And those things are very valuable, but it's not what I'm good at. So the way I keep momentum is by not knowing what to do next and having to figure that out. And I combine that with this habit of being an absolute fool in areas that are way out of my depth, like WebGL and shaders, 3JS, experiments with gravitational fields because I didn't understand gravity, fluid dynamics. Now, I assumed all these things were way too complicated for a designer to understand, but they're not. Like the wave, they're made of simple parts we all understand. Now, you can either react to whatever's right in front of you, or you can scan the horizon, find a good wave. But even the best wave crashes. You're on a great team, and there's a reorg. You make close friends with somebody, and they quit. You're on a beloved project, and it launches. But if you're doing it right, the process is the joy. And it's launch day that's bittersweet. It's like returning the keys to a beach house. So I've seen a lot of people do the best work of their life at Stripe, and I feel like I'm one of those people. But I can't really explain why that remains possible. We're not a fashion brand. We make financial infrastructure for the internet. But my teammates, brilliant people. But there's 0 Nobel Prizes among us. Now, we value craft, but we have a really hard time defining that word craft. And we try to do work that pushes the web forward, but mostly we fall short. And we feel the support of leadership and the weight of their expectations. So if I had to pick one reason, I think it's because, well, the way that we continue to do work that we're proud of is when we needed a form, Kim designed this. When we needed a list of conference speakers, Richard made this. And when we were asked to add a video to the header, instead we brought a 3D wave to life in real time with code. Now, in every case, it took 1, maybe 2 people to elevate ambitions and everyone else to just trust them. Well, the opportunity was always there for us, and it's there for you too. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Figma.